The United States Postal Service is cash-strapped. They've already defaulted twice last year on payments they owe to the federal government, and they're looking to cut costs. One way of doing so is by soliciting federal contract bids to lease minivans and cargo vans. Here with more is Policy Director of Public Notice, Lenwood Brooks. This is just funny. Lenwood, I'm sorry, these people cannot get it right. What is the problem? So let me tell you something funny I saw in these notes, that they're paying $31,000 for vans, but they're buying thousands of them. Why would they do that?
Well, this is a typical thing we see in Washington. They love to kick the can down the road. And that's what they're doing here. They're not addressing the structural problems of their budget. They're trying to hide it.
I agree with you totally. Look, you know, in Great Britain, they're announcing that they're going to take their 400-year postal service and take it private. Isn't that the right thing to do at this point?
Well, I think it's a start. I mean, too often we don't see enough innovation in the government. I mean, nobody really uses, Gerri, anymore VHS tapes. The reason I bring that up is because the Postal Service really hasn't changed their operation since VHS tapes were around. And that's a problem because people aren't sending letters like they used to. I mean, just stop and think. When's the last time you sent a letter in the mail? It's probably been a while.
Well, it was last month, but then it was to somebody in a different generation, you know, somebody who likes to get something in the mail. But generally, I email just like everybody else. You know, I think you've got to think about what is the solution. And one of the reasons Congress is so reluctant to do anything is because a lot of these postal carriers are people who vote. And I think they're reluctant to do anything to make them angry. What's the solution to this problem?
Well, I think it's getting Congress out of the business of running post offices. And it's not just people that work for the post office vote. It's a lot of these small and remote towns like having a post office in their area. And, you know, we have to face the facts. They're losing millions a day. This is an unsustainable business model, and we cannot keep on doing the same thing, which is what they're doing right now.
Now, to what degree do they have a call on taxpayer dough? Because they're supposed to operate like a business, right? But at what point can they say, hello, Uncle Sam, we need some money?
Well, you remember Fannie and Freddie, don't you, Gerri?
Yeah.
I mean, they were a quasi-government entity, too. We were never supposed to bail them out, and we did. I'm afraid the Postal Service is setting themselves up, just like Fannie and Freddie did, to have to come knocking on the doorsteps of Washington demanding a taxpayer bailout.
Well, and there's the bailout of that, and then there's also the bailout of, say, the pensions that these US Postal Service workers get too. I mean, we can get hit a ton of different ways as taxpayers, right?
That's exactly right. And the big cost for the Postal Service is their generous pensions and retirement benefits. If they're going to ignore those costs, they're never going to get serious about the long-term structural challenges of the Postal Service.
Well, there are a lot of those, that's for darn sure. I can't agree with that more. Lenwood, thanks for coming on the show tonight. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.